Bitcoin, crypto, it's pretty gosh darn bearish out there right now. You might have noticed everything's been basically getting smashed over the last few months. But the question on everyone's minds, when is this bear market going to end for crypto? How long until we see things starting to turn around finally in this market? Well, in today's video, I want to dive into that exact topic, look at some charts, some models, some historical data that could help us predict when things might turn around for crypto. My name's Lark. I make videos talking about cryptocurrency investing. If you do like that topic, a little thumbs up button on this video would definitely be appreciated. By the way, every single week my team and I make Wealth Mastery's Cryptocurrency Investor Report twice a week to your inbox, plus access to the website, which is just packed full of amazing resources for cryptocurrency investors. Our subscribers love it. You're going to love it. It's awesome. You can sign up for free using the link in the description. Now, let's go ahead and hop into this topic. So, we have to start off by talking about the NASDAQ, the equity markets. Very, very important for this conversation. So, the NASDAQ 100 currently trading in a bear market, 28% down below its all-time high. It's fallen through support at 12,100. The next relevant area of support is 8% lower at 11,000. Now, if we see the tech-heavy NASDAQ falling another 8%, well, that means more pain for crypto because the correlation has been very deep between these two, which we're going to get into more in a second. And I also want you to remember this number here, 34%. That would be the total amount of correction from the peak to this next line of price support for the NASDAQ. Now, this is the price return for bull and bear markets going all the way back to the 40s. Your average bear market in equities, minus 33%. Remember, if we get to that next line of support, that's minus 34%. That's interesting, isn't it? Obviously, it's just an average. It could blast right through that and go much lower because it's an average. It's not where it's necessarily going to go. Some are shallower, some are deeper. On average as well, they last around 14 months. We've already been this for a few months. Technically, the NASDAQ didn't get into a bear market until it got under 20%, which just happened a few weeks ago. So we could have 13 more months, essentially, of a bear market for the NASDAQ. The S&P 500 has not technically entered into a bear market yet. I think it was 18.5% down last time I looked at it. So not quite there yet. Now, why, of course, are we talking about equities to start off our conversation about a cryptocurrency bear market? Well, because this is the correlation between the NASDAQ 100 and Bitcoin. Correlated as all hell. Look at this. If Bitcoin is moving, well, guess what? It means the NASDAQ has done something, or the S&P 500, which of course very strongly correlated Bitcoin as well, has done something. In fact, you almost don't even need to look at the Bitcoin charts anymore. Just go and see what the NASDAQ or the S&P 500 is doing, and that's probably going to tell you what Bitcoin is doing on any given day. Institutional money has institutionalized the price action for Bitcoin, and we are strongly following along with what happens in the equity market world, which is, kind of disappointing in a way for Bitcoin, but it is what it is right now. Now let's take a look at Bitcoin bear markets. Obviously highly relevant considering we're talking about Bitcoin. Back in 2014, we'll start off here. Back in 2014, it took us 13 months to go from the peak to the bear market bottom. Then took us 25 months to go from the bear market bottom back up to reach the previous all-time high, right? And then some more months after that to reach a new all-time high. 2017 took us 12 months from December 2017 to December 2018 before we hit the bear market. Both these situations, by the way, saw about an 85% price correction in Bitcoin. Ouch. Then it took 23 months for us to go from the end of the market, the bear market bottom, before we actually saw a new high price breaking through the previous all-time high for Bitcoin. Now, here's the interesting thing. Some people are saying that we've actually been in a bear market since May of last year. A lot of the charts, like the Pi cycle indicator and stuff like that, showed that we entered a bear market back then. Not all the charts, some of the charts. A lot of data would support that, even though, of course, we then went on to have this incredible rally. We went up to $69,000, which is actually a higher price than some people, than the time that people were saying, well, that's actually when the bear market started. 6 months later, we had a higher price. People are saying, well, yeah, okay, that happened, but it was really just a bullish rally and it was already a bear market. However way you'd like to count it, we're going to look at both. So if you're counting it from May of last year, 13 months approximately, or you can do 12 months, obviously, that would approximately bring us up to where we are right now, considering that we've seen Bitcoin wick down to around $25,000, which lines up with a lot of models, not all the models, obviously. 200-week moving average, for example, is at $22,000. We could still see the downside to reach that point, just FYI. We often have reached that in previous bear markets, so reaching it again wouldn't be a surprise by any means. But if this model were correct, then potentially we are seeing a bottoming happen out now for Bitcoin. But if we're counting from November, the $69,000 price tag, well, that actually takes us out a few months. We might not see the bottom come in for Bitcoin until later this year. Probably gonna have some nice relief rally between now and then, get everybody all excited again before, bam, you just get smashed into the ground again, face in the dirt. Crypto, man, crypto. Anyway, either way you want to start counting that, there's a likelihood that we could see another 2-year period before we see a new all-time high for Bitcoin. Interesting if we're going to have to wait 2 years again. It's what's happened twice before. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again. The market has changed dramatically since 2014. It's changed dramatically, like unbelievably, since 2017. If you weren't around in 2017, today's market is nothing at all like 2017. Oh, sure, human emotions have stayed the same, but the rest of it, whew, totally different, man. Now let's talk about rate hikes. So, obviously, interest rate hikes from the Federal Reserve have been a very, very big topic. So the first rate happened a couple months ago, and let's just take a look at the data. So U.S. stocks, 6 months after the first Federal Reserve rate increase. On average, stocks are up 3.9%. 12 months after, so this would be March next year, right? 12 months after, we are on average up 7.3%. Now, of course, again, we're just talking about averages and historical data. We have crazy inflation, we have supply chain issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of stuff going on in the macro scene that could invalidate that. But that is what the historical data is showing us, is that 12 months from now, stock markets are likely going to be up, which is very interesting, of course. Now let's talk about the potential for a recession, because obviously this is a big factor here to consider when we start looking at, is crypto going to smash out to a new all-time high anytime soon? Well, the stock market currently is pricing in 70% chance of a near-term recession. Now, we are 6 weeks away from being able to confirm or not confirm a recession for the USA, which obviously is one of the global economic engines. So what happens there, especially to their equity markets, very, very important. So it's not guaranteed to happen. Remember, it's only a 70% chance. But a good chance that the U.S. does enter a recession. So how do stocks perform during a recession? Well, just so we're, before we get into that number, just so we're aware, on average, a recession lasts for 11 months, right? So if we enter that in July, it's confirmed in June, 2 quarters, and we'll enter it in July. So essentially, that would bring us up to sometime mid-next year, right? Which fits with a lot of the models we're already looking at, right? Average bear market lasting 14 months, right? That would bring us up to about mid-next year, considering it just happened for the NASDAQ, right? You can see here, how do stocks perform around recessions? So during times of recessions, you can see that, well, in 2007, we had a pretty brutal correction, minus 37% during the recession, but often, all right, if we go back right through time, often it's either very small corrections or slight gains during a recession, which is kind of strange, right? Why would that be the case, right? It's a recession. It's obviously really, really scary. The reason is Most of the pain has already happened. That's why you're in a recession now, man, because everything's already been smashed, right? Recession's kind of a lagging indicator in this situation. So essentially, most of the pains happen. Stocks have already been smashed. Usually, 2008, obviously not the case, but there was more pain to come. But if we look at 2001, 2020, we only need tiny little corrections, minus 1%, minus 2% during the recession, right? The big pain came before. Now, if we look 6 months after or 12 months after the recession is finished, big gains start coming into the market. Things start pumping back up real fast. Lots of double-digit gains here in the 6 to 12-month periods after the recession finishes. So on average, 7% 6 months after, and 16% 12 months after, and 20% 2 years after. So those are great numbers to be looking at here for the recession and, of course, post-recession. Now, I did a highly scientific poll over here on Twitter. How long do you think the Bitcoin bear market is going to last? You guys are pretty gosh darn divided on this one, although currently the 2-year believers are winning out in the poll. Of course, you can come over here on Twitter and share your opinion as well. Always happy to hear what you have to think here on Twitter. But basically, people are split right down the middle. Either we're going to recover pretty soon, with about 50% of you guys thinking that this isn't going to last any more than 6 months. You know, the Fed's going to come in, start dropping helicopter money again or something, or it's just, things are going to turn around a lot quicker than people realize, or half you guys are in denial and it's going to last for 2 years. One or the other. One or the other. But it is interesting, almost 70% of you guys, or a little over 70% of you guys, thinking that this Bitcoin bear market is not going to last any more than 12 months, that by essentially this time next year, things are going to look a hell of a lot better. We might even be pushing back to test the previous all-time highs. Fingers crossed. That would be pretty gosh darn awesome if you ask me. Obviously, there's a lot of catalysts, too, that can make things go absolutely crazy. If the SEC approves a Bitcoin ETF, well, Bitcoin's just going to absolutely rocket up. This is a great gift right here. That little sloth, so cute. Anyway, big catalysts out there. Remember, El Salvador's met with 44 countries regarding making Bitcoin into legal tender in their countries. How many of those are actually going to go off and then do it? Half a dozen? Maybe. Be curious to see how many more countries do we need to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender before people start realizing, like, oh my gosh, this is actually like a big deal being used as a world currency now. People are starting to wake up, man. Honestly, look. Yes, the bears are in charge of the market right now. Yes, the price action has been rough, right? But the big picture, adoption has never been higher. Never been higher. We've covered, oh my gosh, just hundreds of adoption stories that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, would have been like game-changing. Just one of these stories. And the fact that there's been like 100 or 200 of these stories in the last year, unreal. The fundamentals have never been better. Price, not the same, but the fundamentals are absolutely rocking, guys, honestly. Think beyond the price, think long term. That's how winning is done in this market. And look, bear markets are normal. Bear markets are painful, especially if this is your first time to be going through these kind of market conditions. But these periods come to an end. Whether, the crowd is right on this one and everything's done in 3 to 6 months, right? Fingers crossed, it'd be amazing. Whether our historical data that shows us that the equity markets will, turn around in sort of 12 to 14 months approximately. And then, of course, that would bring crypto up with it because of the high correlation levels between the two things. So we could be looking at, mid next year. Things are really, pumping again. Everyone's going to be happy again. It'd be great. What's a year in crypto anyway? It'll be here before you know it. Or is the Bitcoin 4-year cycle really just the only thing that matters when it comes to the cryptocurrency markets? And the reality is that we're not going to see a new all-time high for 2 years. I don't know what the answer is, right? I'd like to sit here and definitively tell you this is exactly what's going to happen. Nobody knows for sure. We have models. You can, of course, make your own decision on how this is all going to go. I'm presenting the data. I hope that it's useful for you looking at this data, and hope that you're able to come to some of your own conclusions. Of course, I'd like to hear your opinion. I actually am thinking, by the way, I'll throw my opinion out there for whatever it's worth. I think that we are going to follow right along with the equity markets, and that we will see potentially Bitcoin at least challenging its new all-time highs sometime around, well, probably this time next year. So it may be a year before we actually get back to a new all-time high, or to challenge the previous all-time highs for Bitcoin. Obviously, everything depends on the macro scene and what happens in the equity markets right now. It's the way of crypto these days, unfortunately, but I would be really keen to hear your opinion on this topic, so do let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.